morning, good afternoon, good evening. This article on the screen was published in one of the local Zimbabwean newspapers. Boycotting election is boycotting constitution. This argument has been said by so many people. What is disappointing here is that we are looking at a country, Zimbabwe, that is a failed state because we failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. And therefore, then, one would expect this kind of argument, the nation has gone through it, and by now it should be clear to everybody that this kind of argument is a nonsense. It cannot be anything else. You can look at it from many different angles. One of the angles one can look at it is it presupposes that one must participate in elections no matter what. Well, elections are supposed to be processes governed by rules. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So if the process does not meet the supreme laws of the land, surely you cannot say you must, however, continue to participate regardless, particularly when you know that if you participate in the flawed process, you give it legitimacy. So it becomes a catch-22. Those with ability to rig elections would say, it doesn't matter, we can rig as much as we like. They will participate and give the process legitimacy. It defeats the whole point. And this is exactly why Zimbabwe is a failed state. We've been participating in flawed elections, giving the process, a flawed process, legitimacy. That argument has been made so many times, and yet here we are. It's being opened again. Somebody comes out with a bold statement, boycotting elections is boycotting the Constitution. Just beggars belief. We're just going round and round in circles here. Ben, what do you think?
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. I would start by mentioning that we had our elections in 2023, the most recent elections in 2023. And from that election came reports from various observer missions that had come to observe our elections. And in unison or in one voice, they stated that our elections did not meet international standards. And they made it clear that it did not even measure up to the Constitution, our Constitution. Now, this for me, it simply spells out that it was flawed and illegal. If it doesn't measure up to your own Constitution, it is illegal. Then how does then making boycotting, rigged elections? I think they deliberately left out the word rigged elections because that's exactly what we had in 2023 and before. The Zimbabwean elections have always been marred with, vote rigging schemes and, you know, violence, forcing people, is particularly in the rural areas and so forth. And the constitution actually says you shouldn't be doing that. It should be a free, fair, and credible process. And again, you go to the composition of ZEC itself. These are children of top ZANU-PF officials that are in charge. These are the commissioners that are in charge. So basically, it's ZANU-PF running the election. You know, I don't mind how foolish you can be, you know, or how blinded you can be, but this is a straightforward cut case where you have an election that is so flawed, so illegal, that the only logical step is to withdraw. And this has been the case for a number of Zimbabwean elections. So why one can continue saying, let us participate, otherwise we are boycotting the constitution, when it doesn't measure to the constitution? Geez, I have to agree with you. We are going round and round in circles. And it seems like there is no way out, because this is somebody that is very learned, that says something so foolish.
Well, here is Professor Jonathan Moyo. I played this video clip several times, and it's worth repeating. Zimbabwe's SEC, the commission that's supposed to conduct the elections, is clearly so corrupted and compromised, it cannot deliver free, fair, and credible elections, which is exactly what the cartoon there or the picture on the screen is encapsulating, where the president says, is everything in place for the elections? And the SEC chairperson says, yes, Mr. President, would you like to see the results? Here is Professor Jonathan Moyo explaining why that is not an exaggeration.
Chigumba is the mother of the rigging, and Malaba is the father of the rigging, endorsed what the mother was doing. It is actually scandalous. You see, ZEC is not supposed to be controlled by any authority.
Yeah, it's supposed to be independent.
It is an independent constitutional body. In fact, independent commission. It's a Chapter 12 institution. But ZEC did not run anything important. It never did. The computers were run by Africom. The registration, accreditation, and so forth were run by a CIO company. So between the CIO and the army, they ran the processes, the operations, using their instruments. Either Matsanga, who is actually active, she's employed. She joined the, not joined, she was seconded to the electoral body in 2008 as a divisional intelligence officer. Now she is a director in the CIO. As we speak right now, she's a director, and she was congratulated and rewarded for rigging the 2018 election, and she was given a house in Borodale, a posh mansion in there. So there is a serious problem that, whereas on paper ZEC is supposed to be an independent constitutional body that runs elections transparently, efficiently, and impartially. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because it does not even itself run. The elections are run for ZEC by the securocrat.
This is important. So one can ask, why is then the opposition continuing to participate? Well, the MDC Triple C opposition has had the chance to implement the democratic reforms, particularly during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. They failed to implement even one token reform. Why? Because Mugabe bribed them, gave them the tokens of high office, the E-class Mercedes-Benz, the very generous salaries all round, and for Morgan Tsvangirai, the US $4 million mansion in Highlands. And they forgot about implementing reforms. That is the political reality. And ever since the failed GNU, the MDC Triple C have participated in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, they are giving the process credibility and the results legitimacy. But they've continued to do so out of greed. On the screen there, showing you the picture of the book by David Coulthard. And at the bottom of it, I'm showing you the quotation from that book, where he is admitting that the process in Zimbabwe is so flawed, so illegal. The logical thing to do is not to participate. But he also goes one step further and explains why they've kept participating. And the reason for it, simple, greed. They could not, MDCN could not withdraw from the elections because they feared that the other MDC would participate and win the seats. That is the reason why they've been participating. And for us to keep on pretending we don't know that, it beggars belief. And in this case here, it's clear. If you participate, you give the process legitimacy. And once you've participated, you cannot then say, no, the elections were rigged. Well, you participated knowing that the process is flawed. That's ZANU-PF was rigging the elections. And in this particular case, Chamisa and company have been saying they have got ways of stopping ZANU-PF rigging the elections. Only when they've lost the elections, they turn around and say, no, ZANU-PF rigged the elections. Yeah, but you are the one who said they were not going to do it because they had blocked it. I think the problem here is the sheer naivety of some of our people. You keep believing, Chamisa, people did not participate in 2018, 2023 elections because they fear that boycotting elections is boycotting the Constitution. They participated because they believed that the opposition had ways of winning rigged elections. That is now being honest. Chamisa and company, none of them have ever argued that they're not going to boycott elections because they don't want to boycott the Constitution. They've always said they were going to win the elections. They've devised ways of winning rigged elections. An idiotic lie, which unfortunately millions were stupid enough to believe. That is our problem here. Ben.
I have to agree with you. You know, it is not that the evidence is not there or it is not clear. You know, a lot of time and effort has been given to making the evidence, documentaries, you know, for Zimbabweans. These things are done for Zimbabweans so that we can finally see the light. You know, you can look all around. I mean, the evidence is just galore. It really doesn't take a brilliant mind to understand what is going on with Zimbabwean elections. The simplest mind can understand. I mean, if you have ZANU PF, a contestant, I'm sure everybody has participated in the OK Grand Challenge. That, you know, if you're a family member of somebody that works there, you're not supposed to take part in the competition lest it be unfair to others. But here you find that the ZEC itself is composed of children of ZANU PF members, direct children. The question now is, how do you think the children, how on earth are they going to go against their fathers and their mothers and themselves? Because once they lose that position, they're also out of a job. It doesn't take, you know, it's not rocket science. It's plain. You have the gold mafia, you know, documentary that told us way before the 2018 election that the 2018 elections and 2023 elections are being rigged. How? Like, you know, they gave us the details to it. Lo and behold, somebody says, I will win against all those odds. And guess what? He lost. And then he disappeared. And here comes somebody. Let us do it again. And we're eager to pick up the pieces and move forward. I think everybody knows the outcome of the 2028 elections because nothing has changed. Nothing has been, you know, there's no reform that has been put in place to stop the rigging. So you have to expect that the rigging will continue without fail. So it is nonsensical for somebody to say boycotting elections. Mind you, these elections are rigged. Say boycotting rigged elections is, you know, is boycotting the constitution. Then we understand that we're supposed to participate in rigged elections no matter what. Because that is the truth. Zimbabwean elections are so flawed, so illegal. This came from not within Zimbabwe, but it came from the international community. It's always up to us at the end of the day. Do we want to continue going around in circles and giving ZANU-PF legitimacy and perpetuating our own suffering? It is always up to us. I believe everybody has got a choice. If Zimbabweans want to continue this way, so be it. We make a bed of thorns, lie in it.
Well, I'd like to play a video clip of Mnangagwa insisting that the 2023 elections, were free, fair, and credible. And more significantly, dismissing the SADC, the AU, and all the other election observer teams would say the process was flawed.
Vana vakatuka ZANU-PF kana ndonyanyisa kufara kuita zvakanaka. Ukavona vavengi vako vachikurumbidzwa nekuchikanganisa, ukavona vachiti ZANU-PF yakaipa, farai. You are doing correct things for your country. Hongu takaita maelections edu kuna vamwe vaitaura zvisina musoro zvikanzi maelection anofamba zvakanaka ndezvavo.
Here is the body, the regime, the authority that are supposed to prepare to make sure that elections are free, fair, and credible. When they are told, no, the elections are not free, fair, and credible, he dismisses it as deja vu. Elections are a process. They're supposed to be governed by rules. Rules that must be observed. And if those who are supposed to make sure that they observe the rules are the ones who are ignoring them, it is foolish, of course, for us to say, well, we'll still continue participating regardless. What motivation is there for the regime to implement the reforms and make sure the election process is free, fair, and credible? I think this kind of opinion can only be written by somebody who has no clue what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections. Who has no clue why we need the rule of law. And for a nation to be so clueless, even after 45 years of rigged elections, in this day and age, that is worrying. That explains why Zimbabwe is a failed state. And as long as we remain clueless, we are never going to get out of this mess. Right now, we are looking at 2028. And I can tell you now, Chamisa is gearing up to launch a new party according to his recent activities on social media. And he will be telling the people the same old lie that he has devised ways of winning rigged elections. And we, the people, should participate. What he doesn't tell you is that if you participate in another flawed elections, you give the vote rigging ZANU-PF legitimacy, perpetuate the dictatorship, and perpetuate the nation's suffering. It's tragic that 45 years after independence, we still don't know what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections. We still have no clue what the rule of law is all about. And we keep perpetuating the dictatorship and our own suffering. That's tragic. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would want to direct it to the author, Blessed Mhlanga, and say, I would. It's an insult to democracy. Just the headlines of his story. It's an insult to democracy. We have had the 2023 elections, and the report is there, and the report was adopted. It stands, and it stands against Zimbabwe. And as far as I can see, nothing has been done to address the illegalities of our past election. Then here you are standing up and writing that people should participate in rigged elections, and you deliberately left that rigged elections because if they don't participate in rigged elections, they're boycotting the constitution. The same elections that did not even measure up to the constitution of Zimbabwe. And you're saying it doesn't matter. just participate. I would have expected it from somebody who knew no better. Maybe our grandfathers or grandmothers in the rural areas that really do not know what constitutes free, fair, and credible elections. Not a learned individual that would come and support that ZANU-PF continue rigging elections just because if we don't let them rig, we are boycotting the constitution. It's sad, it's pathetic. And if possible, I would say rewrite this whole thing and use the exact terms, rigged elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to those who were able to join us. Hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time, for another topical discussion. Have a good night.